Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to some of you. We're at the top of the hour and ready to begin. I want to welcome you to CASAS National News and Updates webinar. Today is January 19th, and we have a great lineup for you today. So a few things about this webinar that I want to point out. Your phones and computers are muted due to the large numbers that are here. Also, regarding questions related to the presentation, if you want to communicate with us, the best way to do that is in the Q&A and not the chat box. And we will answer later to any unanswered questions that are posed in the Q&A. If you have technical difficulties, that's what you can post in the chat box, and which we will be using for today's webinar. I also want to let you know that we will have a recording posted and the PowerPoint on the news and updates page of the CASAS website. So here's what your Zoom toolbar will look like. I want to draw your attention to the little green bubble on the right. Says enable closed captions. If you would like to see closed captions, you can click on that box, click show subtitle, and then you will be able to have a transcript at the bottom of your page. That bigger green bubble is the Q&A, which we already talked about. This is where you pose questions about the presentations, and we have a great team here ready to answer your questions. The chat is over next to the left, and that's again for technical difficulties only. And on the far left side, you see a button where you can check your audio settings. Now, this is a bigger view of what the chat, the Q&A looks like, excuse me. So as you can see, there are two tabs on that Q&A. One is where you can see just your questions, and the other tab is where you can see all questions and answers. So that's where you can ask us questions about the webinar and type your question in there, and our team of experts will be happy to answer you. So that's all we have for now, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Linda, our Vice President of Assessment Development. Linda?
Hi, everyone. So glad you could join us today. We have a wonderful, I think, and full agenda for you. We have, as usual, a guest presenter, promising practice presentation called Learner-Centered Approach, Data and Accountability from Thoibi Rublaitus from Corona Norco Adult School. We're going to give you a brief test development update, then talk about some opportunities to participate in research studies that are extremely important. We'll give an update on our CASAS eTests and TOPS Pro software, some tips and tricks to keep you updated and help you learn a little more about those tools. And then we'll have a Summer Institute update and then some CASAS news. So we're going to begin with a poll. I'll ask Karen to introduce that.
So we'd like to learn a little bit about you with a polling about reports. So in polls, you just answer the poll and then you submit your answers. And the next slide shows a little more. The first thing you do is answer the poll by clicking on the screen. Then you will submit the poll using that blue button at the bottom. After that, you will close the poll. In between, we will be sharing the answers. So you'll want, after we've shared the poll, you will need to close the poll box so you can go back to the main screen again. So I am going to launch the poll now. So you should be able to see that poll up there. There are two questions on there, so you can use the little gray bar on the right-hand side to scroll down.
The first question is, which CASAS reports do your teachers use to guide instruction? You can choose all that apply. So if you use all of them, check all of them. If you don't use any, there's an option at the bottom to say that, or if you don't share your reports with students, you could check that. It's a pretty long list. We'll give you another little moment to get through it. And you may not know the exact names of all of these studies, all of these reports rather. So just do your best. We have about 44% of people on the webinar who have responded, almost half now. All right, let's take a look at the results. So hopefully everyone can see this. Looks like the individual skills summary is the most popular report to share with students. That's what we had understood, but that's good to confirm. The competency performance summary, 32%, and the content standards summary, 22%. So fewer people are looking at content standards. We encourage you to take a look at content standards because in our newer series, they are extremely important. Learning gains summary, 24%. The class profile, only 11%. So if you're not familiar with some of these reports, part of our purpose in sharing this poll with you was to familiarize you with some of them that you may not be aware of. The student test summary, 31% of you are using that to share with students. The test score overview, about a quarter of you said that that's something you use, and that's a sort of simplified report that mostly just tells the scale score of students. So that's a way to keep it simple, but still share some important information. Other reports, more obscure ones, great, about 7% of you, and then only 13%, my goodness, said that you don't share reports. So that's encouraging, but we would encourage those of you who aren't sharing to please do so. And there are ways to do that within TOPS Pro Enterprise. You can set it to view only, so there's no danger that teachers or students or anyone would have any way to affect the data. Let's look at the next poll.
Scroll down, Linda. Linda, you can scroll down to see the responses to the second poll.
I'm not seeing that. Let's see. Okay. So here we have the question about sharing reports with your teachers. Here you're looking at the individual skills profile summary. That's the class report. So more than half of you are using that one. The competency summary, about a third of you. Content standards, 22%. The learning aid summary, about a quarter of you. So that looks like it's important for some of you to share, but if you're not familiar with that, take a look. Class profile, 11%, and the student test summary, 31%. So that's actually getting a little more action than we might have expected. The test score overview about a quarter. Other, oh, I'm sorry, I just told you the results for the first study, first poll. Here we go. Sorry. Looking now at what you share with students. The personal score report. All right. About half of you are sharing that. Some of them, students may see that right away when they finish the test, but you could also share it with them in addition. The individual skills profile is very informative for students. The student competency performance, only about 17% of you are sharing that, and the content standards even fewer, so we'd encourage you to share that with students. And then about a quarter of you are saying that you're not sharing any reports with students. So hopefully today you'll be inspired to do that. And we're going to now go on to our guest presenter, Thoibi, Dr. Thoibi Rublaitus. And she's going to do some additional encouragement today to give you some other reasons to share reports with teachers and students, and to share how they have been very successful in doing this at Corona Norco Adult School. I just want to say one more thing about Dr. Rublaitis, and that is that she is the president-elect of ACSA, which is the Association of California School Administrators, the adult section. So we're very honored and privileged to have Dr. Rublaitis here with us. And so we'll be showing a pre-recorded presentation that she made, especially for this webinar. And afterwards, we'll have a chance to interact with her, asking questions live.
Thank you, Linda. Greetings from California. My name is Thoibi Rublaitus, and I am delighted to share with you some learning-centered approach practices on data and accountability today. I'm a principal at the Corona Norco Adult School in California, and this is my third year as a principal. But before I was a principal, I was a teacher for 8 years and 2 years as the assistant principal. Today, I will be sharing a little bit about why we do what we do in terms of data and accountability, and sharing learner-centered approaches with you. The other thing that I would like to add in the order of contents is how we have data-driven discussions at our school. And based on that, there are some practices that I will be sharing with you, namely the cultural shift, constant communication, and learner-centered tools. First of all, the why. We are adult education professionals, and we know that adults learn differently from children. And what we all know that is andragogy, as opposed to pedagogy. And andragogy says very clearly that learner needs to know what they do. As an adult learner, they want to know why they need to do what they do. So when we test students, they say, why do we have to test? We don't want to test. Nobody likes tests. So we get our students to understand why these tests are important, why taking a CASAS test is important. Why do we do a post-test and a pre-test and mid-test? Then we also know that when learners are self-directed, they are more productive. And so we get our students to be self-directed learners. And they come in. When we are adult learners, we come in with a lot of prior experience. Building upon that experience is what we want to do. And so giving them data on how they perform in a test and helping them to have the motivation to get more in the next test is the concept of using andragogy for data-driven discussions. We also know that readiness to learn is something we need to know. When students come to us, we want to know where they are so we can help them better. So directing that accordingly by using data, the CASAS test reports, for instance, really helps. Finally, of course, orientation to learning and problem solving is what we want to give them. But if we don't know what they come in with, we don't know what kind of orientation we need to provide them. So looking at all that from a teacher's perspective, student's perspective, and the administrative perspective is what this discussion is about. So the discussions that we have on a constant basis with our students and teachers is, first of all, looking at their attendance reports. We look at them on a regular basis. Students get a certificate that gives them their attendance scores. And of course, we are not trying to say that if you don't come, you don't learn, but we're also getting them to get that number, and numbers speak louder than words. So it just helps. Another thing that we have on a constant basis at our school is discussing the CASAS performance reports. So at our professional learning communities monthly, our teachers look at the class summary report or student performance report. And this here is an example of a CASAS class summary report where a teacher can look at their students' first test and whether they have all had the second test, and did they score higher or lower in the second test. For example, if you had look at the far right side gain, you can see the first student, instead of gaining, lost 4 points. So that means something's going wrong. And how can the teacher help the student better, right? In the second row, you have 11-point gain. So mostly in this class, students are getting gains, but there are a few who showing a negative report. That means the student and the teacher need to work better for the next test so that they can get their gain. And how can we help the student gain? The next slide will shows us some of the practices that we have in place that helps our students understand the importance of taking tests and following through and looking at data. So the first practice that we have is a cultural shift in how the students think about tests, the concept of paying it forward. I will share a little bit more about this in the next slide. We also have a constant communication among teachers and among students and between teachers and students to look at discussions using data. Numbers speak louder. So what our teachers do is on a monthly basis, they meet at the professional learning communities and relating what the numbers show or why they do what they do and relate it to our mission. The mission being that we are here to provide transitional readiness and educational opportunities, but also to create productive members in the community. So our students who are problem solvers, if we can create students to think critically how it involves or how it affects the community, as some discussions we talk about. The paying it forward concept. Here is a little bit where I'd like to share my own story. I came from India in 2007. I already had a master's degree, and so it was easy for me to get a job. However, when I learned that in the US, schools provide free classes, it really shocked me. How can we provide free classes for adults? How and why is that important, or how does it work? I then realized that the feds provide funds, the states provide funds, and how do they provide the funds? Through taxes from the community. Now then I go and share that with my students and say, you know why they provide the free classes? So that your lives are enhanced, so that our lives are enhanced. And how do we do that? Because higher educated people earn more money. Trained people get more money. And if you have more money and you earn more money, you pay more taxes. And more taxes means more benefits for everybody in the community. So that concept kind of took a hold, and then it became like a paying it forward discussion in our school, right? Also, that's something I share with our students all the time when we have new students and say, we can do this because we have to be able to help our students who are going to come in the future. I'll share a little bit on that in the last point here. But before that, we also talk to our students about the importance of testing, how testing allows accountability, how we show our report of our test results to the states and the feds and earn more payment points, how those payment points help our student get more support services in our school. On this note, I also have to share that we make it very clear to our students, test is anxiety prone, but don't worry, you're not testing for anything. You're testing so that we know what you need to learn and how we can help you learn faster, and you know and see your own progress. So it's no reflection on you as a learner, but it helps a lot to the school and helps the teachers to help you better. The concept going back to the earnings and the taxes, I always tell our students that if you perform well this year, people who come in the future 2 years later will have more support services because your gain brings payment points to the school. If you are here today in this class and getting all these benefits is because 2 years ago, those students did very well and they brought a lot of funds for our school that can help you be the students you are here today. So it's a whole thing about helping the community, helping yourself, and paying it forward and moving it rolling. So that's one concept. One of the tools we use to make this all happen is sharing with our students the students' performance reports. We share with our students their performance report the week after they take the test. And in it, they can read, and we help them to read it and understand it too. For example, on this page, you have a high school diploma student who took this test, and the student already scored 245 on the scale score and 26 on the raw score. We also see the content standard description, and we know that the student did pretty well in the first content standard, but the second one, the student needs some help. And then again, as we go down, the one that says 0%, in that one, the student needs a lot of help. So this is one of those reports that we share with our students. The students use this to keep their own record also. I will share that slide in the next or the one after that. So we also provide teachers the class summary report and student individual reports. The teachers go through them. So if you can see the white worksheet that is on the extreme left, that is just one page worksheet where students' reports are provided to the teachers, and the teachers look through the class summary report and can make an analysis of how many students took form number 81R and what were their areas of improvement that they may need to help them with, or form number so-and-so and areas of improvement. So for example, if we were to look at the performance report at the back of this slide here, so this particular student this particular test, 21 students took the test. And out of 21 students, 47% of them got this correctly. So that means if the teacher focuses on teaching this competency standard, maybe we'll be able to get 80 or 90% students to improve their score. For instance, from the student learning gains report, this is individual student's name, and then teachers can then go back and look at it and say, okay, so-and-so student did not do so well in this test. So then the teachers can help that student do better. Also, earlier I said that we have learner-centered tools. So here is a worksheet that our students are provided, and the students, when they get their performance report, they can then go and make a note of where they did well and where they need to improve. So they can read through the competency descriptions and say all the yeses are the ones that did well, no's are the ones that did not do well. This is even something we practice with our beginning literacy students as well, because even if they cannot read everything else and understand everything else, they at least know yeses and no's. So they read the no's and say, okay, I have 3 no's. So those 3 no's, they just copy the description, write it down. And then areas I did well, they just have to select these 3. It just gives lower level students also a chance to do some writing practice. Maybe they're just copying it down, but at least they are taking responsibility of their learning. they are making a note of what they're doing well at and where they need to focus more. And this, I have noticed, have helped a lot of students take charge of their learning. When they see that they did not make the level gain, they would come back and say, teacher, I need to make my level gain. When can I take my test? So in the past, it used to be like, I don't want to take a test, to when can I take a test? So that's the learner-centered approach we have been able to inculcate in our students. So here is an example of a student taking notes of their learning progress. And I will load this up in the next page, and you can see a little bit more in detail. They write the form number down. They write their scale score. In this case, the student got a learning gain. And level completion, they check off level completion, and they don't have to test again. But if they need the level completion, they come back and tell us that they need to take the test. And that's what I was sharing about. So in summary, there are some practices that we have in place, and I will be happy to share. I have already shared the 2 worksheets, the teacher analysis report and the student progress report with Janice and Linda here, and they will share it with you as well, or it must be in the resource folder. So with that, I say we are somehow able to empower students, engage them, and keep them as self-directed learners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Thoibi. And now we would like to ask you a few questions. There's Janice.
Thank you so much for your presentation. You definitely think outside the box and look for ways to use the CASAS reports to the benefit of the students. I had one question I wanted to ask. What was the path for training your instructors for learning how to use the CASAS reports? Can you share a little bit about that, how you did that?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of the things we do, and thank you for the question as well. As I shared at the very beginning that I was a teacher for 8 years before I became an administrator. So something like this is something where we start with the teachers, not going top down. So when I was a teacher, within the teaching fold is where we started this practice. So it took at least 4 to 5 PLCs, professional learning community meetings, before we really got into it. It took a while for us to understand the importance of sharing data among ourselves before we can even, and our director at that time helped us and gave the teachers full freedom. I was one of the teachers among the teaching fold is where we started discussing how we could look at the data to improve student performance. So in the learning communities, we brought these, first of all, we look at student competency data, reports. And then we looked at that, and then among ourselves is where we've said, oh, okay, so many students have taken 81R and they're not doing well in this. So many students are taking 84, and question number 26 is one where most students don't do well. So then we said, okay, let's just gather all this together, put them together and look at how many students took that test and how did they fare in this test. And then we put that little worksheet, the teacher analysis worksheet together. Neela and I did that. And so then we decided we'll just start using this to kind of look at what we need to really focus on teaching. Based on that is when teachers go and plan lessons on certain competency, descriptive competencies. So that was one practice. So it wasn't one day work, it was at least half a year, a semester's work before we all agreed to do that.
That investment really paid off. I can see that over and over with your agency. There's a question from Peter, and it kind of parallels one that I had as well, that as you were applying this model to your students, did you see any difference between applying it with your ESL students versus your high school diploma or high school equivalency students?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Good question too, because yes, ESL students are like sponges. They'll take everything easily and fast, and it wasn't hard to get them to get used to it. Our ESL students are the sample of the yellow paper that I showed was also an ESL student's writing. They're willing to do this writing exercise without much depth, but with the high school diploma and equivalency students, it wasn't as easy, and it isn't as easy. We have to adapt them and I have to be honest, with the high school diploma and equivalency students do not care about that report as much as the teachers do. The teachers are more involved in it because teachers then know what to teach the students. For our students who come for high school diploma or equivalency, all they want is to get it done and get out of the door. They don't want to go through the scribing and all that. But we have used that same concept a little bit in the Steps to Success class that we do, where we first get our ABAC students to understand that they have to take responsibility of their own learning. Just if they know where they stand, they know where they want to go, and helping them to build goal settings for their plan of action or educational plan with us. And that's something we're practicing, but like you said, there is a huge difference between the uptake of this practice within ESL or ABASC students.
Thank you. Thank you. Very, very insightful. And we appreciate you coming today to share this with our national audience. Several people have asked for copies of the worksheets, and yes, they are already posted on CASAS.org, so you can go get them. A copy of Dr. Rublaitus's presentation, the recording will also be there, as well as a copy of her PowerPoint. So hopefully all those materials will be helpful for you. Thank you, Thoibi.
Thank you very much.
And if you would like to keep asking questions of Thoibi, you can do that for a little while longer. Is that okay, Thoibi?
Yeah.
Okay, so and you can enter them in the Q&A. There was a question, someone asking about some more specific examples. So if you could perhaps type some answers there in the Q&A for any questions that come in for you.
Okay, just type it.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, thank you so much. So we're going to move ahead in our agenda and give you a quick test development update. This is nothing new, but just like to make sure everybody's aware of the current situation with our NRS approved assessments. For ESL, we have the Life and Work Reading 80 series. The beginning literacy forms 27 and 28 are included in that series. And you may not be familiar with the Reading for Language Arts forms 513 and 14. Those are also approved and can be used if your program or state allows it. For listening, we have the 980 series. So as nothing has changed here, that these tests are currently approved through February 2023, about a year from now. All the other NRS approved tests are with the same deadline. And normally Octave will extend that to June of the same year, but there's been nothing official that's come out yet to say that. For ABE and ASE, we have our goals series, reading goals, that is approved through 2025, and we are currently field testing items for the next reading goals series for ABE, and you may be seeing those as embedded field test items on the operational forms. That's how we go about field testing as much as we can. And then for math goals, that is approved through 2023. And also we are currently working on the next version of that series. For ESL, our ESL goals series, the new ones, we have the final forms studies that are very much in progress, and we are expecting to submit them this coming October, but that really depends on how successful we are in getting those studies done. And that leads into our next segment on research studies, where Karen Berger, our National Program Specialist and Field Test Coordinator, is going to share with you how you can help us get involved in these research studies, because without your participation, we simply will not be able to submit them this October.
Thanks, Linda. So These research studies take the form of field tests and there are other aspects of it. The field testing is where you folks come in and where we can use your help. And if you're not familiar with field testing, basically it's your learners take our not yet approved assessments, and we use the data that we get from those assessments in order to submit to the NRS and give them a justification for how these are valid and reliable. So there's many benefits of participating, one of which is that it ensures your learners are represented in the development of tests. We need a very broad demographic, and thousands of students are needed. For students, it helps them build their test-taking confidence and can diminish test anxiety. Some programs choose to use it as a practice test before they post-test. It also gives practitioners an opportunity to look at the new assessments, and that can be through paper testing, or also if your program allows it, so practitioners can actually look at the testing session and practice with those as well. And your contribution helps to create valid and reliable tests for future use throughout the country. So another real benefit is that the testers get gift cards. So you can go on to that slide. Thank you, Linda. These field testers were from Palm Beach County, and Susan Vinton was kind enough to share us the photo, and all the students said, yes, they'd love to be seen on the national webinar. And I really love what Thoibi said about paying it forward, because the gift cards we give the students, it doesn't compensate them for their time fully, but it is a way that they can contribute and pay it forward. And we even had one agency who all the students in the class decided that they wanted to contribute their gift cards to the local homeless shelter. So it is a wonderful way that they can be productive members in society now, and contribute a little bit by helping for the development of tests that they're going to use, or maybe that the people that are coming after them are going to use. So the studies that we have on the next slide, you'll see this is the item testing. This is an urgent need. We're trying to build our item bank, and this is ongoing. We had hoped to begin the final form studies this month, but it looks like that is going to be pushed to February. And nonetheless, anybody who is an ABE or an ASC learner is eligible to participate, and ESL students at NRS level 4. The math items are only delivered via e-tests, but when we get to the final form study, there will be paper tests available in the math studies. So the students get a gift card. Their first test, this is a $5 gift card, but second and third tests would be $10 each. So if a student took 3 tests, they would get a $25 gift card. And for your agency are complimentary web test units. In the ESL studies, we are in the final form studies, but we still need so many people to participate. And this will be ongoing until we meet our goals. We need all levels, but we have been particularly needing level A test takers at NRS 1 and 2. We deliver this via e-test and paper pencil, but again, we have a really strong need for paper pencil. E-test can be delivered on site and remotely. And the way this is administered is the student takes a locator plus a level test, and if it's on paper, they would take an appraisal. In this study, the students get $5 in a form of a gift card per test completed, and again, your agency will receive complimentary web test units. So here are a few of the frequently asked questions. These are not approved tests, so they cannot be used in your reports. They are still in development. It will not affect your regular program testing, in the sense that these will not show up on any of your reports. They will not take the place of your regular testing, and it will not change the timing for your progress testing. There is no cost for these field tests. If you use paper pencil, they're mailed to you. And if you use eTest, we put a testing session in there into your eTest account, and it will not use up any of your WTUs. So students, everybody wants to know how the students will get the gift cards, and we do have a couple ways we do that. Typically, we mail them directly to the agency, and then you distribute them. But for some agencies, we have also had e-gift cards emailed directly to the students. So we work with you with what works best for your program. And then finally, just to get started, the best way to do it is communicate with staff, look at your calendar, see if you got a plan for implementing, and then you can contact us. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to all of you who are already field testing or who are in the process of getting started to field test, who have said, well, I think maybe we can do it. Can you contact us later? So it's really easy to get started. You can just email fieldtesting@casas.org, or you can call me and we'll get you started. Thanks so much. There's one more little piece. This is about the embedded field test items. So Linda referenced these in the reading goals. We are building our item bank through embedded field tests. Now, this is different than a full-blown field test because there's just one or two items. And when you have a testing session started, you'll see a little FT next to it, meaning that there is an embedded item. And to help us with this is a few simple steps just to enable some basic demographics, which is gender, native language, and ethnicity and race. And by doing that, we can use the embedded items to build our item bank. There's a video of how to do that that you can get to by clicking on the link below.
Thank you, Karen. The next section, we're going to be talking a little bit about a technical tip, which is something that I use frequently. It helps me stay organized, and it's called My Reports. And I recorded a little short video about it. Next slide, please. What it does is it allows, go back one. It allows teachers, administrators, data managers to group their reports together, the ones that they use most frequently. So Linda and Karen, when you're ready, if you want to run that video, it'll give you a brief overview. Thanks. I'm going to show you a productivity tool in TOPS Pro Enterprise, which is called My Reports. It allows me to create a customized list of reports that I frequently use and make it very easy to find it under the reports pull-down menu. Let's take a look at how we set it up and how it works. Here I am. I'm going to log into the Rolling Hills simulation server using a version of the server that emulates TE Basic, which many of our states use. So let me connect and go through a couple of setup steps for you. I'll show you how you set it up using the wizard. Here we go. So here's the reports pull down that you see in TE Basic. And there are more than a dozen different reports. So rather than searching around for them, I created something that I called My Reports to customize it and grab the individual skills profile report automatically. So if I click on that right here, it would take me into the setup screen. The way that I did it, I used the wizard and I select, you can use either the keywords that I think is probably the easiest way to do it. You could type the word profile and watch how as I type, it starts to select which of the reports match that keyword. So if I do oh, there it is, student profile. That's the one that I want to add. To add it to my list, I simply click on it and go down to the bottom and say, add to my reports. All right. Now, if I delete the keyword, you can also select it by scrolling using the scroll bar on the far right side. And you can go down and select different reports that you might be interested in including. After you've got your list of My Reports set up, when you close the window and go to the reports pull down, now there's My Reports and it shows both of the reports. Very handy, very helpful. You might also notice in the wizard, if you happen to know the code word for each of these reports. When you look at a printout, you'll see it on the printout. Let's say like the Student Content Standard Performance Report has a code of SCS. You can find it easily that way as well. Let's take a look at TOPS Pro Enterprise Enhanced version. Here, there are a lot more reports. There are over 120 different reports last time I counted. Here you can see just a selection of the different ones. Very useful here to have a My Reports. So let's create one. Using the wizard, same interface as we had in TE Basic, but it becomes more helpful to go down to the bottom and look at the type of the report. So let's say I'm looking for reports that have to do with data management. It'll subset the list, or specifically funding reports. Again, it shrinks the list. Let's say I want to grab reports that have to do with data integrity. So if I type the word integrity, there they are. There's a whole bunch of them. And I can select them and add them to my reports. And when I save it and close it, you'll see it here, oops, under my reports. Very handy. Also, this is reflected in the TE Start page. We have a separate video about that. To get to the TE Start page, you say View, Start Page. And this consists of 4 sections. If I close off the leftmost section, How To, you can see our shortcuts. And here we go. Some of the recent reports I've looked at, and down at the bottom are My Reports. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. We have documentation also on the CASAS website. Let's take a quick look at that. Here on the CASAS homepage, scrolling down to the Help Documentation and Videos, you can click on that and search on the word My Reports. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see there it is, My TE Reports, Steps to Set Up and Access My Reports. And this document goes through very much a similar demonstration that I just went through. So you can download it or open it up and practice it yourself. Hope this has been helpful. Have a great day. So there it is, the My Reports Help Documents and Videos. A number of you have asked more information, and here's a link to that, as well as a link to a copy of the YouTube video, so you can watch that. The document referenced at the bottom actually goes through all the individual steps that I used, so you can try it on your own when you have time. Speaking of documentation, we presented about TE Classmate back during our October News and Updates webinar. So along with that, we updated the documentation to break it into 3 different segments, one for the teachers, one for students, and one for data managers. Hopefully that'll be helpful. If you're curious about how TE Classmate works, Tichelle Diaz from Cerritos College shared a really fun video of how their school is using TE Classmate. So I recommend you check out that information as well on the website. Next slide, please. Windows 11, okay, techie update. If you haven't yet done it, eventually your agency will probably have to update to Windows 11. It's a big change, but do not worry. CASAS has already tested TOPS Pro Enterprise and eTests in that environment, and we've got you covered. Also, there was a new build of TE, TOPS Pro Enterprise Build 22 last Friday, which includes a couple of enhancements in the report generation and in the third-party import for your data. So if data managers want any more information about that, you can refer to Jay's recording from last Friday, which was a TE All States Network meeting, and that's posted on the CASAS website as well. I think that's it for me. So I'd like to hand the microphone over to Janie Gez, who's going to share some exciting information for us about the upcoming Summer Institute. Jane?
Yes, hi everybody, and I'm so glad I can have this opportunity to share about our CASAS Summer Institute, which we will have in June of 2022 this year. And we're so looking forward to seeing many of you in person. But with the situation that it is, we're going to have a hybrid conference. So some of you We hope will come and join us in person in San Diego, but there will also be opportunities to join us virtually. Please go to the next slide. The Summer Institute will go from Monday, June 13th with virtual trainings on Monday, and then the in-person will start on Tuesday, the 14th to the 16th. And we will be at the Town and Country Resort, which many of you have already been to if you've joined us in past years. The good news is that this favorite place has been very well renovated during the COVID period, and so you will be in for some nice surprises when you come back. Because of the COVID situation, we've had to put some new practice in place. So if you could go to the next slide. We're asking that everybody have proof that they have been vaccinated to join us, and we will be following all the new and updating CDC requirements. But we've partnered with CrowdPass, and this organization will be the one that will be checking for vaccination. So CASAS will not be seeing any documentation, and we will be working with this secure third-party system that will help us keep track of this. So we hope many of you will be able to join us in person, but again, the virtual conference we know will be also very robust. Like last year, our whole conference was virtual. So we are looking forward to offering both options. And then there will be some of the sessions will be hybrid, well, virtual and in person will be able to be at the same session. We'll be using Wahoo platform like we did last year. We had a lot of good response on how well that worked. And so we are looking forward to building on the success with the Wahoo platform. We'll have lots of training sessions for both implementation trainings and hands-on technology labs if you come in person. We'll also have TOPS Pro Enterprise and e-test trainings and demos for virtual training. There'll be sessions on the National External Diploma Program and the Workforce Skills, and hundreds of other training and workshops where you'll have a chance to network with leaders. The registration is a little bit higher for the in-person, and the registration is open now. So we hope that you will log on and come to that sign up for the Summer Institute. And we'll be posting the program online as it's evolving. So we'll hopefully by the next month, you will be able to watch the program grow and see what you're in for. So again, the session or the Summer Institute is June 13th to the 16th in San Diego. Again, the in-person is from the 14th to the 16th, and its registration is online. That's it for the Summer Institute. We'll have more information next month. And now I'd like to just tell you a bit about our online catalog. We've updated the new online catalog, and there's a paper turn version, which is really lots of fun. It feels like you're actually looking at the actual catalog. I won't go to it now, but please go to our website and you can click on it. We did not raise any prices, so that's the good news. Under the circumstances, we felt that we need to, everyone is tightening their belts and working as hard as they can, and so we're in this with all of you. So again, the catalog online has lots of good information for your reference, and that's it. I'll turn it back over to Linda now.
Thank you, Jane. Let's go on with some more CASAS news. We always like to tell you about what's coming up as far as live training, that is virtually, but still live. On January 27th, we have the Module 4, and that's the one that does focus on test results, which was the focus of our guest presentation today. And some of you were asking, how do I train my staff on that? It is this M4, Module 4. So if you want to do that live, you can tune in on January 27th. You need to register for that. And here's where to do that. The module 2, which is about getting started with e-tests, is on March 3rd. There will be an overview of TOPS Pro Enterprise on the 27th of January and the 24th of February, so you can also register for those on the website. We want to remind you that we have now a page called Help Documentation and Videos, and if you go on the far right of our homepage under What's New, it's the very last entry there, and you can click on that and you'll come to a page that is chock full of all of the resources to help you with CASAS, both PDFs and videos, and we do keep updating it. There are a lot of ways to use the search to find what you're looking for. So please do take advantage of that resource, and that's how you can find it. We continue to offer office hours. Not every week, but these weeks, if you see our dates coming up, the 21st of January, the February 11th and 25th. And that's where if you have any question at all about CASAS, we are happy to try to answer it for you. And you do need to register for that, and that helps us to prepare a little bit, make sure we have the right people on hand to answer the questions. We do have a full range of CASAS staff there every time we do this, so please join us for that. Love to have you there. And whatever question, doesn't have to be that you know ahead of time, but spontaneously, if you'd like to raise something, please do. We have something that's fairly new, National TOPS Pro Enterprise Network meetings. And this is for those of you who are using TOPS Pro Enterprise and want to learn from your peers, learn anything about NRS guidelines that might be important or changing, tips and tricks from people who have been using it for some time that they can share. Different kinds of features that we sometimes feature here in the webinars, but also we focus in on at these sessions, and more on test results and reports. So it's an opportunity to confer with our CASAS staff and also with very knowledgeable assessment coordinators from the different states and practitioners who've been using this software for a long time. But again, your questions drive the session, and we leave plenty of time for those to be raised. The next one is going to be on March 10th. And so you'll be able to see how to register for that in our What's New coming up. That'll be posted shortly. And that's how you'll be able to sign up for this next session. Our next National News and Updates webinar is in February on the 16th, same time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, and again, under the What's New, you can click there, and that's also where you will be able to see the recording for this webinar, as well as the related support documents from Dr. Rublaitus, and get the PowerPoint for the webinar, as well as the recording, which will be posted as soon as we can get to it, which is usually in a few hours or no later than tomorrow. So please do join us next month on the 16th and register for that. So we hope that this has been helpful to you. Here are the ways that you can contact our different departments via email. If you're not sure, just send it to CASAS@casas.org, and we can refer you to the right people to answer your questions. This is a really efficient way to get your answers answered, get your questions answered. That way you avoid waiting on the phone, and we have a system to answer these as efficiently as we possibly can. So encourage you to use these emails. So this is the formal end of our webinar today, and thank you all so much for attending. We will stay on and for another couple minutes. If anyone has any additional questions, please do post them in the Q&A. And thank you again for joining. Have a great day.